This episode of Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Luca Perich, and you are listening to the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks Podcast.
I'm here for Peter.
Never go wrong with the classics. Welcome back to Ultimate Spider Dash.
He threatened it, boys, and he came through.
That's
the
right.
death of DeWolff.
Start your February off. Here's some singing, sir. Singing. I am. Welcome back. I am Phil. Joining me as always, Pat Mask.
Hey, y'all, it's Lilith Hellfire, the not-so-friendly neighborhood Spider-Woman.
Drink a couple more there.
It's water, Philip, water.
Like, I don't know. Right. Fill it up.
That's what this is for, my friend.
Oh, nice. The Capes and
Will be prominently displayed and on showcase during Hard R.
That's right, Capes and Lunatics cups. You can get one yourself at DeWolff. All right, so before we get to the Sin Eater story, remember 2 episodes ago we were doing our
2 episodes ago.
Well, yeah. Well, he was here last time for the Ben Rally Sausage Fest. So,
exactly.
I figured
convenient.
Oh, so yes, Aussie fanboy, and he's better known as Ray, sent in feedback for our spectacular Spider-Man 148 crossover. Remember the Flash Thompson debacle?
I wouldn't want to hang out with me neither.
So Ray, who for those of you who don't know, major podcaster, he hosts such shows as Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast, and To Know Her is to Fear Her. He says a Spider-Woman podcast, but we can give him the Spider-Woman podcast. So yeah,
I'll allow it.
And again, like I said, last Tuesday of every month, like last episode, he was here talking all things Scarlet Spider with me and soon to be Father Matt Kona. So
Sausage Fest. Go ahead and market it.
Your Super Bowl Sunday, what? Anyway, yeah. So
fingers crossed.
Hey-oh. 4th and 10. Hey-oh. Anyway, so yeah. So and also, you probably know Ray if you know him from Into the Night.
The Moon Knight podcast.
So he knows his Marvel. All right, let's see what Ray had to think about Flash Thompson's adventure in a spectacular Spider-Man 148.
Hello, Lilith and Phil. This is Ray. Just going to send my thoughts in for spectacular Spider-Man 148, The Night of the Living Ned, which has got to get an award for the title right there. I think it was pretty fun. Overall, man, I do every now and again, I guess you come across these sorts of issues, and for me they're so good, they're so refreshing. So this issue predominantly being led by 2 just normal people surrounded by a very chaotic / demonic environment, and it's just basically 2 normal people doing very heroic things. I really did enjoy it. The fact even that we don't really see the real Spider-Man, we see a bit of him, which was good, but I mean not necessary. I think perhaps maybe in the day there would have been a little bit of uproar if there was not an appearance of Spider-Man at all in an issue, but for me anyway, I think it's quite a brave thing to do, but if you pull it off, it works really well. So I really enjoyed this issue. The old Flash in the Panuary Flash Thompson doing his great thing. But even more so for me, Betty Brant, she's gaining some redeeming qualities, I guess, from, not so much that she's been bad, but she's really had a rough trot. And she really does get to face her inner demons in the most, literal of ways. So it was, again, the whole idea was, it was a pretty simple thing. Demons running around, two of them wanting to play with their prey before they eat them. So they kind of conjure up these deepest, darkest, insecurities that Betty and Flash have. So it's weird, though, not that I think it detracts from it, but for me, for a point there, I don't know, I was assuming it would be more kind of Betty, and she did kind of become the hero at the end and have the plan, and she was the orchestrator of the climax with the gas heater, so that's pretty cool. But while I was reading through it at the beginning, it seemed to be more Flash centric, and I was like, oh, I thought Betty had the real demons in her closet, and so when we see Flash up against a Spider-Man that insults him, I felt, oh, that's like nowhere near as the problems that Betty had with losing Ned and losing her brother, to the battle between Doc Ock and Spider-Man, as mentioned, and losing Ned over in Berlin. So it was weird for me that it kind of led with Flash, but having said that, it was really fun to see him stick up for himself against the demon, and just use whatever wiles he could to try and beat the demon. I love the idea. Conway's got really fun ideas. I love the idea of that demon Spider-Man stringing up Flash and taking away the lightning rods of the buildings, and then with a storm coming, having Flash potentially electrocuted. I thought it was a very kind of morbid and very, dare I say, like a fun kind of way to send someone off. But yeah, the art was fantastic as well. I think a lot of people may not like Sal Buscema's art, but for me, I do love his storytelling aspects to it. I was thinking about it even. There was some script by Conway of Flash just thinking to himself, and visually you see Flash kind of bringing the planks, just preparing the apartment block to be kind of boarded up against the inferno outside. And I don't know, just a small touch. I thought that was just really well considered. In my headcanon, I think that was Sal coming up with the layouts for that, just to Jerry's words. Who knows? Maybe Conway did lay out the panels for that as well. But I think it's just really good, making something that, if you just look at the words of it, it's very nondescript, and actually adding value to it by telling a very small story of just Flash going around the building. There's even a shot there for me very reminiscent of Ash from Evil Dead. I love it. The silhouette in the doorway, just those little things. I don't know. Anyway, so as you can tell, I really did enjoy it. It's I would give it a solid B, maybe a B plus. I just really enjoyed this very honest take and an insight into Flash and Betty. Although it was essentially, I guess it's like a nothing story, on the other hand, you could argue that it isn't, in the fact that Betty really does, turn a corner in her life, because she had been through she had a nervous breakdown, all that sort of thing, and this was a way for her to kind of get beyond that. And her and Flash seem to be doing very well indeed. So so a B plus for me for this. Really cool art, really good storytelling by Jerry Conway. He's a very solid writer, I think, especially during this era. But yeah, anyway, I'll be keen to hear your thoughts. I seriously don't know, because there was that Green Lantern one a while ago. I really enjoyed it, but but it apparently wasn't a good one. I'm hoping you like this one, because I certainly did. Anyway, catch you later.
Poor Poor Ray Ray. Poor sweet summer child Ray Ray. Tank tops and wine is all he knows.
I was going to say, you give him a pass just because he wears the tank tops on camera. Come on.
No. I mean, that Green Lantern one was, everybody has different tastes when it comes to Green Lantern. Green Lantern's actually very divisive. Who your favorite Lantern is says a lot about you. Much like who your favorite Robin is.
And he doesn't have the history with the character.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No.
I'm kidding. Because he can learn more about that on, I believe we have a Green Lantern podcast now.
I was going to say, if you're going to badmouth Green Lantern, don't bring yourself anywhere near our upcoming...
I'm already reading!
Sector 2814, the Green Lantern podcast.
Reporting for duty.
Oh my.
Looking to charge up my power ring.
Every episode, we're going to start with a sector report. All right, so should we get to these issues? There are 4.
Only 4? Felt like a lot more.
Oh, damn. All right, well, come on, it's not that bad. It's written by Peter David, dumbass.
I know, but it felt like more than 4. Because you just feel it coming, that tension's building. You're just like, all right, fine. I see what's coming, just do it. Whoa. What a waste of butter.
Not in the face. Oh, what a waste of butter.
All right, so it starts with Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man 107.
But he's not ultimate, so
No. From October 1985.
I wasn't born yet.
I know, shut up. All right, so this one is titled Original Sin. Fatally
okay.
Fatally shot, Jean DeWolff's life flashes before her eyes. She remembers how her father, Philip, left her mother 6 months after she was born. After the divorce,
I'm coming, Elizabeth.
Jean was left in the care of her mother while her brother was in the care of her father. Her mother swore off relationships with people in law enforcement until she met and later married patrolman Carl Weatherby. Although Jean grew,
I don't know. Sounds like Larry Lance to me. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Jeez, you got that fucking. Although Jean grew to love and idolize her stepfather, her mother always worried when the day would come when she would get word that her newlywed husband was killed in the line of duty. Jean's mother didn't like the idea that her daughter had an interest in being a police officer herself. However, Jean soon enlisted and eventually graduated from the police academy, much to the disappointment of her mother. Wanting Carl's approval, daddy issues, Jean pushed herself, eventually rising to the rank of captain. Unsmiling during all of her achievements.
Suck it, misogynists.
Oh, jeez. Unsmiling during all of her achievements, Jean knew that Carl was proud of her and was likely holding out until she made police commissioner.
No, that's not going to last too long, but okay. Good for you. You did it. You broke the glass ceiling. You did it, girlfriend.
Well, no woman can become police commissioner in New York yet, so.
Exactly.
As all things begin to go black, she hears pounding at the door of her apartment. As 2 police officers force themselves into her apartment, they find the gore-spattered body of Jean DeWolff. Finding Jean's dead body, the officers call the situation in.
Did someone say murder?
The next day, because remember whose book this is, Peter Parker is out snapping photos for the Daily Bugle when he runs into Ernie Popchick, one of the new tenants to move into Aunt May's boarding house. Greetings.
Oh, that boarding house.
I know, man. The STDs are just flying. Greeting, Mr. Popchick. He learns that the old man is in the city to cash his social security check and then do some shopping. As Peter parts company, his spider sense begins to go off as Ernie is pulled into a nearby alley. Peter rushes to his aid, but it's too late to stop a gang of punks from robbing Ernie and making a run for it. So should that spider sense have really gone off? So wasn't it a danger to Peter himself?
It was an empathetic spider sense, okay?
I know. I'm sorry.
It's tingle, tingle, tingle.
modern day Peter could use a lot more empathy, to be honest. So
That's true.
modern comics would never.
I'm here for Peter.
Sympathy. No, she's here for sympathetic Peter. Peter rushes to his aid, but it's too late to stop a gang of punks from robbing Ernie and making a run for it. When a crowd forms, Peter tells them to call an ambulance while he goes for help. As he runs through
Don't call an ambulance. No American without health care can afford an ambulance.
Exactly.
What's he thinking?
As he
Putting that poor guy into bankruptcy.
As he runs through the alley, Peter begins stripping off his street clothes, revealing the black and white costume of Spider-Man. The wall crawler catches up to the crooks and manages to nab them all. As they rob an elderly man, Spider-Man treats them rougher than usual.
Ooh. Getting a little spicy.
That's when the police arrive on the scene and take the thieves into custody. One of the officers tells Spider-Man that Ernie Popchick seems okay, but he's being taken to the hospital for observation. It's then that the officer asks the wall crawler if he's heard about Jean DeWolff's murder. This comes as a shock to Spider-Man, who asks if they know who did it, but at this time, the police don't know. Meanwhile, at a church, a bespectacled man has come to see the priest in order to make a confession. At the same time, Jonah Jameson, and Joe Robertson are going over the Jean DeWolff story. Jonah is sickened by the actions of the killer, telling Joe that even though he didn't like her, nobody deserves to die the way she did. When Joe asks him if he feels the same way about Spider-Man, Jonah admits that although
that damn menace.
Jonah admits that although people like Hitler, cop killers, and assassins deserve to die, Spider-Man isn't fit in those categories. Oh, he's lightening up.
Aww.
They are interrupted by the arrival of Reverend Tolliver, who is setting up a new parish in New York City and would like a mention in the Bugle. Jamerson remembers a story about some slayings in Atlanta that Tolliver was involved in. This leads to a brief exchange about race between Jameson and Tolliver, for which the priest apologizes. That evening, Spider-Man pays a visit to the police station to talk to the officer in charge of investigating the DeWolff murder. He learns that it is Sergeant Stan Carter, remember that name, who had just left for the evening. Spider-Man manages to catch up with Carter, and he invites Spider-Man into his car. Spider-Man tells Carter that he wants to know more about what happened. He learns about DeWolff's grisly death, and there are a large number of suspects, including Spider-Man. When the wall crawler asks if Carter thinks he did it, Carter is certain that Spider-Man wasn't involved and tells how Jean DeWolff thought very highly of Spider-Man. How is Stan sure that it wasn't Spider-Man? In the early morning, Daredevil, the devil, has finished his patrol of the city and heads to criminal court, where he is due to represent a client at trial as lawyer Matt Murdock. Murdock is
poor schmuck. That's
Murdock is representing the thieves who attempted to rob Ernie Popchick the other day. Among the members of the public watching the arraignment is Peter Parker, his Aunt May, and the tenants of her boarding house.
Hang them from the ceiling.
That's how Lilith always says, even if they're jaywalking. Hang them.
No, if they're jaywalking, just run them over.
Oh, true. When they are released on their own recognizance and without bail, Popchick is upset that the thieves are just going to be released. Peter chastises Murdock for making this happen, unaware that he was revealing that he is secretly Spider-Man, as Murdock recognizes his unique heartbeat. His Aunt May.
Oh, should we ship this?
Hey man, that Deadpool Gambit miniseries, remember in the first issue that they were antiquing together, so.
I'll allow it.
Billy Club webbing. Okay. His Aunt May scolds Peter for giving grief to the blind lawyer, and Peter apologizes and leaves. After the courtroom clears out, Murdock confides in Judge Horace Rosenthal how his oath to uphold the law makes him feel awful when he has to represent people like his clients that day. Oh, Max Scott beat on them later. It'll make
exactly.
Horace tells Matt that he should try being a public defender for a few years, as it will strengthen his resolve.
And honestly, aren't you supposed to do that right after law school anyway? Like, pretty sure New York is one of those states that they make you do that, but I could be wrong.
He goes out at noon and beats up people in a mask. Come on, love. Like he follows the letter of the law.
Somebody get Bruce Wayne on the phone.
He then suggests they have lunch together and excuses him to go to the washroom first. This allows Matt to learn who's hiding out in the judge's office. Walking around in the dark, he senses a masked man wielding a shotgun. Matt calls out.
Janie's got a gun.
Matt calls out, asking who's in the room with him. That's when the masked man walks out and introduces himself as the Sin Eater. Murdoch pleads the Sin Eater. Oh, Lilith.
Thank you. That is the only appropriate sound effect for a Sin Eater.
Murdoch pleads the Sin Eater not to hurt him as he is blind. However, when he admits that he is a lawyer, the Sin Eater opens fire.
Don't care if you're blind, you're a lawyer. It evens out. Boom!
Murdoch barely manages to leap the cover under Horace's desk in time, converting his walking cane into his billy club and tosses it across the room, striking Sin Eater in the back of the head.
Gave him a Gibb smack, baby.
Donkey punch. That's when Judge Rose.
This podcast is rated T.
Nobody tell Rob.
That's when Judge Rosenthal enters the room. Before Matt Murdoch can tell him to get down, the Sin Eater whirls around and pulls the trigger. So let's see if there's any notes here. Oh yeah, so when Peter learns about Jean's death, he says, "Oh, he just talked to her the other day," which was reference to Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man Annual 5.
Thank you, editor.
So what did you think, Will? Well, we know what you thought.
It kind of could have. It was very slow paced.
Yes.
It gets better, but it was like, oh, this is too much setup. This is forever.
Well, we kind of have to set up. We killed off a supporting character. There's a killer on the loose. We had to set up the whole Ernie Popchick thing, and then we had to bring in Derek.
I mean, no one cares about Aunt May's boarding house. It's just like, it could have been whoever.
It's a plot.
It just took too long. I know it's a MacGuffin. I know, and I don't like MacGuffins.
All right, so you ready to get to the next one?
Yes, it's infinitely better. It gets better from here. It's all up from here.
This might be my favorite cover on 108. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man 108. From November 1985. The title, Sin of Pride.
He knows all about that. He takes selfies for a living.
Oh. So, get it? There's a theme. All right. So, it opens.
Get it? There you go, Philip.
We need it. Oh, come on, give me a drop. Say, get it, and you can do it.
Ray, paging Ray.
Oh, I'm sure he's already working on it as he listens to this. All right. So it opens with a flashback. Then, years ago, when Matt Murdoch was still studying law, there was a guest lecture by Judge Horace Rosenthal. After the lecture, Matt approaches Rosenthal and thanks him for the lesson. However, Matt points out that there was an error in the judgment of one of the cases studies he provided. Horace points out that Murdoch should have said so during the lecture, not after. He tells Matt that to be a lawyer, you need guts and you need to be true to yourself. This was the first time Judge Horace Rosenthal met Matt Murdoch. But now, in the present of 1985, Judge Rosenthal has been fatally shot in his office by the Sin Eater in front of Matt Murdoch. The Sin Eater manages to escape in the confusion, and his shotgun blasts draw a crowd. Vowing to avenge the death of his colleague, Matt storms out of the courthouse, determined to find Horace's killer as Daredevil. Not far away, Peter Parker, his Aunt May, and Ernie Popchick are still upset about how the men who attacked Ernie were released on their own recognizance. Ernie can't...
Revolving door. Are we sure this isn't in New Jersey, the hive of scum and villainy? Are we sure?
Oh. No, it's that hive of scum and villainy, the Marvel Universe.
Touche, sir. Touche.
Ernie can't understand it and wonders if the judge has something against war veterans. Despite Peter's assurance that isn't the case, Ernie thinks that pretty soon the streets won't be safe. Suddenly, people in the street are in a panic because the Sin Eater is fleeing down the street. The Sin Eater's assurances that he will harm nobody fall on deaf ears. As the crowd flee in a panic, Peter is separated from his Aunt May. In the confusion, Peter changes into Spider-Man to try and stop the Sin Eater. When he orders the masked man to put down the shotgun, the Sin Eater opens fire anyway. Instinctively, Spider-Man leaps out of the way. Suddenly, he hears screams and realizes that the people behind him were struck by the Sin Eater's bullets.
Duh. That's how bullets work.
Straight line, dude.
Unless it's a magic bullet.
Oh. What's from the CIA? This horrifies Spider-Man, especially because his aunt is somewhere in the crowd. When the Sin Eater reloads his gun, Spider-Man webs the barrels shut. As the two trade blows, Spider-Man noticed that the Sin Eater has a gavel and a police badge slipped to his belt and realizes that this is the man who murdered Jean DeWolff. Admitting this,
Ruh-roh.
Sin Eater plans on making Spider-Man his next victim. The wall crawler.
Well, this ain't called the Sin Eater book, so this ain't Spectacular Sin Eater, so we know how that's gonna go.
The wall crawler's anger gets the better of him, allowing the Sin Eater to pummel the hero with his gun. Not in the face.
Not in the face.
Pummel the hero with the gun. During the battle, Spider-Man is distracted when he sees Aunt May face down on the ground and he fears the worst. This gives Sin Eater a chance to flee when the wall crawler tries to stop him. He realizes that his web shooters were damaged in the brawl. When he tries to tag Sin Eater with a spider tracer...
That's why they should be organic?
When he tries to...
But then it should also shoot out of his butt if it's organic, so...
Hail! When he tries to tag Sin Eater with a spider tracer, the killer notices and brushes it off.
Ooh, he brushed the spider tracker off. What you gonna do now, Peter? What you gonna do now?
Like,
it's the first time it's ever happened. He doesn't know what to do.
With the Sin Eater having escaped, Spider-Man changes back to Peter Parker to check and rushes to Aunt May's side. She is okay, but Peter gets scolded by Ernie by not being by her side the whole time. Shut up, old man.
He's got pictures to take. He's got an excuse. He's got to make some money.
Not long after, Daredevil arrives on the scene to discover that he is too late to stop the shooting spree. There are too many erratic heartbeats for Daredevil to zero in on the Sin Eater's heartbeat. As Daredevil chastises himself for being too slow, the Sin Eater makes his escape in a passing city bus. And I love the panel. He's still wearing the mask. I mean, I know they don't want to...
It's New York.
I guess.
Nobody cares. No, mind your business. Nobody cares.
The next day, Spider-Man pays a visit to Stan Carter, who just learned from ballistics that the gun that killed Judge Rosenthal was the same one that was used to murder Jean DeWolff. Clue, kid.
You don't say! Get out of town! Shut the front door!
Remember this moment, kid. That's a big clue.
Feather and cap?
Spider-Man explains that he wants to help, especially after he failed to stop the Sin Eater. Now that their killer has a name, Carter explains that a Sin Eater is something that comes out of a folklore.
Arrow did it better. I'm just going to go ahead and let y'all know Arrow did it better.
Spider-Man is surprised to see a photo of Nick Fury on Stan's desk and learns that he is a former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Of course.
When Spider-Man asks to check out Jean's apartment, Stan declines it, knowing that it will make the other officers more critical of him. When the wall crawler asks what Stan's partner thinks about all this, he learns that Carter's partner was killed in the line of duty 6 months previously and that Stan brought their killers to justice. However, Stan implies that he will turn a blind eye if Spider-Man wants to check out the apartment anyway. Later...
Plausible deniability.
Exactly. Later, at a church, the respectable man who came to confess his sins returns to Reverend Finn to confess again. He tells the priest that he still hears voices telling him to do terrible things. Meanwhile, Spider-Man arrives at Jean DeWolff's apartment and begins looking around, hoping that his spider sense will pick up on something that the police might have missed. The masked hero finds nothing until he searches Jean's drawers. Shut up, Will. There he finds newspaper clippings that are all about him. When he sees one of the articles had the black hat clipped out of it, Spider-Man realizes that Jean had feelings for him.
Aww.
This hurts Spider-Man, who removes his mask. Man, pain.
As you do.
He thinks how Jean DeWolff was always stern with him and regrets that she never made her feelings known, and considers what sort of future they could have had together had she said something.
Aww.
Moving right along.
Later, 2 burials are being conducted at once, one for Jean DeWolff and the other for Judge Rosenthal. At the DeWolff funeral, Jean's mother blames her stepfather for the death of Jean as he encouraged her to become a police officer. Attending the Rosenthal burial was Matt Murdock. As the attendees of both services begin to filter out, Matt detects the Sin Eater's unique heartbeat. Unfortunately, there are too many people around for him to pinpoint who exactly it is. Also among the attendees is Reverend Tolliver, who criticizes the lack of attention that murdered African Americans get from the police. Stan Carter makes
and it's 2021 and ain't nothing changed. Just, yikes!
Stan Carter makes an off-color joke, wondering if the Sin Eater could do requests.
Whoa!
It is received poorly. Meanwhile, Matt Murdock decides that he can't keep the knowledge that the killer is among them a secret and tries to warn everyone, but by the time he speaks up, everyone is gone. Peter Parker takes a ride home with J. Jonah Jameson. He somberly vows to himself that Spider-Man will catch the Sin Eater in the next 48 hours.
We have a timeline.
Yes. Back at the church, Sin Eater goes into Reverend Finn's confessional for advice. He tells the priest that he has lost his resolve in his mission to right wrongs, fearing that no one will understand. Unaware of who he's talking to, Finn tells him to follow his convictions and to do what he thinks is right. Hearing this, the Sin Eater loads his shotgun and opens fire on Reverend Finn.
Well,
look at all these.
now that must have made a splash back in the day. Somebody just opening fire on a priest. Jeez.
Exactly. Oh, look at this Easter egg. Among the people walking the street is actor Charles Bronson.
Get it? Because somebody was feeling lucky. Wait, no, that's not the right reference.
No, Charles Bronson. No, because someone had a death wish.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's like, wait, no, that's not the right reference. That's not the right old white man with a gun.
Exactly. And Ernie Popchick, victim of sliding time because he said he fought in World War II.
So would that be equivalent now to the first Iraq War? God, that just made me feel super old, actually.
Yeah, but Ernie Popchick's pretty old. So it couldn't have been like Korea or Vietnam War.
Vietnam. I think that's as far as we're willing to go back nowadays is Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
The Balkan War or something like that, maybe. I don't know. Grenada, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. So you like this movie better?
Oh yeah, like now the tension's ramping up. Now they both have personal stakes. Now they're both like vowed. They're on Daredevil and Spider-Man on this path that's bound to collide. And Sin Eater gonna get it.
And I love when
maybe.
Daredevil goes up to the lady. He's like, "Oh, Spider-Man couldn't stop him." He's like, "Well, at least he was here to try it. At least he was here to try."
See, I'm shipping it. I'll allow it. I'm shipping it.
Oh yeah. Oh, the sexual tension's gonna build in these next 2 issues of Hellfire. All right, so Spectacular Spider Peter Parker. Oh no, the cover, the all new, all daring Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man.
I hate when they do that to the covers. It's like, stop it.
I know, how many words? Especially 109. How many words can they cram on this cover? Because they also put the title on the cover.
When your artist is like, this is all you get, make it work.
I mean, the image is pretty good too. But I don't know if they cram words onto it.
He was like, I'm only doing this much. You're gonna have to stretch it and make it fit. Ooh, phrasing. You're welcome, Philip. Oh, we can use that for Boogie Nights, actually.
So yes, the title's on the cover, which is, again, you know the theme, kids. He who is without sin.
Cast the first stone. Ned Flanders ain't around, so
Cast the first kidney stone. From December 1985.
got a year to go.
We're planning the conception of Lilith Hellfire. Her parents were getting the pig's blood, painting the pentagram.
Remember, date of conception, St. Patty's Day, so it all makes sense.
True. It was meant to be. You were meant to be drunk. All right. So 109. With the news of the murder of Reverend Bernard Finn at the hand of the Sin Eater, the news media asked the question, who will be the next victim? Among the dead include Captain Gene DeWolff, Judge Horace Rosenthal, as well as Hugo Kelsey, one of the innocent bystanders who was shot during Spider-Man's clash with Sin Eater. Hearing this, Peter Parker blames himself for leaping out of the way of Sin Eater's shotgun blast. He's talking on the phone to Stan Carter on the phone as Spider-Man, who puts like a sock or something over the phone. I'm like, wouldn't it be easier just to put the mask on your head and talk to him if you're going to do that? Instead of trying to hold something over the receiver, just put the mask on.
That mask is pretty thin spandex, to be fair.
Yeah, but he was talking to him in person with just the mask.
Comic book logic. Don't think about it too much.
I know. Talking about the latest developments in the case. Carter is unimpressed when he sees Reverend Tolliver is interviewed about the Sin Eater's activities. Also watching the news is Marla Jameson, wife of J. Jonah Jameson. Oh, Lord. Ready for
One
this?
of the wives.
Ready for this, kids? She decides to call Betty Leeds. Yes, Betty Brant Leeds, kids. She's back. To ask her to come stay
Guess who's back? Back again.
Betty's back.
Tell a friend.
Watch her back.
Is this secretly Betty Brant frickin' February? Is this what this is, Philip?
Brantuary?
Oh, God.
I don't think so. But yeah, Marla asked Betty to come stay with her while Jonah is out of town, as she doesn't feel safe being alone while the Sin Eater is on the loose. Because Ned's
with a killer on the loose.
Because it doesn't say here, but yeah, Ned's going with Jonah, so they're both going to be alone. Also watching the news report is Reverend Tolliver, who pats himself on the back for the speech he gave during his interview. Likewise is Emil Gregg, the Patsy who will play an important role in the history of Spider-Man. The man who...
You always need a Patsy.
It's Patsy. It's Patsy.
He really wants to go to jail.
And he really doesn't want to drop the soap. And the man who frequently made confession with Reverend Finn. He hangs his head in his hands as the reporter expresses the authorities are concerned about possible copycat killers. Lastly, Matt Murdock listens as the reporter goes on to a story about a string of burglaries on the east side.
On the Upper East Side or just the East Side?
I don't know. At that moment, on the east side, we covered what comes next. A young girl is woken up by a knock at the window. She is surprised to see Santa Claus standing there. She asks Santa why he is visiting her home before Christmas.
I saw Santa Claus kissing mommy.
I believe we covered this issue our first Christmas, like the Christmas of our first year. So
yeah. Scroll way down.
Yes, it's like issue probably around 49 or 50. Yes. The man dressed like Santa tells the girl that he'll explain everything once she lets him in. Okay. All right, now let's get back to this story. Later that evening, the Kingpin is dictating a letter to C.B. Kalish, who has been inquiring about being his next assassin. He is unimpressed that as Madame Fate, Kalish assaulted some of his men and declines her offer and warns her not to interfere in his efforts again. Unaware that Spider-Man is working on the ceiling, Kingpin fires his cane ray at the hero.
Ridiculous.
Some people should not have money. But he leaps to safety. The Kingpin knows what Spider-Man has come for and tells him the same thing he told Daredevil minutes earlier. He knows nothing about the killer. He tells the Wallcrawler that he doesn't care about the deaths of DeWolff and Rosenthal. He takes issue with the Sin Eater killing a priest, explaining that killing religious figures polarizes a city and makes it harder to control. The Kingpin then tells Spider-Man that he can leave out the front door and to not knock out any more of his guards, suggesting he takes lessons in subtlety from Daredevil. Man, when you got to take lessons in subtlety from Daredevil, you got a problem.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Meanwhile, Matt Murdock is going to seedy bars in his civilian identity to find out if anyone knows anything about the Sin Eater. However, Murdock easily trounced. However, the rough clientele tries to rough him up. However, Murdoch easily trounces them. When they stand down, they tell him that they know nothing about Sin Eater. As Murdoch leaves, the bartenders are relieved that nobody broke the window. No sooner has he said this than Spider-Man comes crashing through the window.
Man, he is a menace.
He's a bull in a seedy bar.
Nice.
Crashing through the window, demanding information about Sin Eater. He begins beating the thugs in the bar, but finds nothing either. Spider-Man scours the city for leads, but finds none. After leaving Carter a voicemail about his progress, he tries another tactic. He then goes, did they have voicemail then? It was probably an answering machine. With a cassette tape, probably.
Nice.
Maybe 5. He then goes to the home of a drug dealer named Gerald Jablonski and takes him from his home. He takes Gerald to a shady bar where he tries to get him to talk. Nervous about what other crooks seeing him talking to the wall crawler. Although he admits to being the middleman in his drug dealings, he knows nothing about Sin Eater. The next day, Peter Parker goes to the Daily Bugle to see if they turned up anything regarding the Sin Eater. No sooner has he arrived as a man who appears to be the Sin Eater comes barging into the newsroom and demands to see J. Jonah Jameson.
Bring me that loudmouth know nothing.
And he takes Marla as a hostage. Thinking quick.
Well, you saw that coming.
Yes. I don't think they even mentioned it here, but yeah, Joe Robertson comes out and Robbie comes out and tries to pretend to be Jonah.
Everybody knows what J. Jonah Jameson looks like.
Get out of here. You don't have a Hitler mustache. Quick thinking, Peter tosses some office equipment at the gunman, knocking him out. He pulls a roller out of a typewriter or something and hits the guy right in the face with it.
Hit him right in the face with that sack.
You hit him right in the face with that sack. Not in the face.
They unmask the man, revealing him to be Emil Gregg. Peter thinks I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you kids.
Meddling kids, where's the dog?
No, somewhere he's been unmasked to be Emil Gregg. So somewhere, some musclehead reporter named Eddie Brock is writing up the story now, not knowing that.
The plot thickens.
Not knowing that this is going to ruin his career. See, kids, this is why Eddie Brock originally got mad at Spider-Man because he wrote that story that Emil Gregg was the Sin Eater, but then when Spider-Man catches the real killer,
it's all connected.
It's
super connected. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this is when Peter kills Eddie's career. Later, as Spider-Man, Peter sits in on the interrogation of Gregg, who makes a full confession. However, Daredevil enters the room, and after listening to Emil making a confession, he asks to speak privately with Spider-Man. Outside of the interrogation room, Daredevil tells Spider-Man that Gregg is lying. Spider-Man asks how he knows, but Daredevil isn't sure if he should tell Spider-Man about his ability to detect heartbeats and tell when people are lying. However, he convinces Spider-Man to join him in checking out Emil's apartment. There, they search the apartment to try and find out if Gregg is the Sin Eater or not. But Daredevil takes the opportunity to chastise the wall crawler for coercing Jablonski into confessing his drug dealings. Searching the room, they find a locked door that has recently been picked. They discover it leads into the apartment next door. Searching the second apartment, Spider-Man finds bills that are addressed to Stan Carter. At first, the wall crawler is shocked to discover the killer lived next door to the detective on the case. However, Daredevil discovers a secret storage room that contains spare Sin Eater costumes, a shotgun, as well as a tape recorder. The evidence points to Stan Carter being the Sin Eater, and that Emil Gregg, although mentally disturbed, was confusing the recordings as voices in his head. When they consider who the Sin Eater will be going after next, Spider-Man realizes that it's going to be J. Jonah Jameson. However, Jonah is out of town, and while Marla works late, Betty Brantley is staying with her. Spider-Man frantically calls Joe Robertson to get Jameson's phone number. He then calls Betty to warn her about the Sin Eater. However, he is too late to warn her as the Sin Eater has already broken in. As Spider-Man tries to warn Betty to get out of the apartment, the Sin Eater opens fire, blasting a hole through the long back chair that Betty is sitting in.
Yikes.
Could we have actually killed Betty Brant? Let's see. Yes. Oh, yes. There are some notes. When Spider-Man beating up the guys in the bar, one remembers Spider-Man being like this during his hunt for the Master Planner. This was in Amazing Spider-Man 31 through 33. Way back. Peter's he picked up the Sin Eater with the roller of a typewriter as a projectile. This should be considered a topical reference.
Yikes! I refuse to make this a topical reference.
Right. These days, you hit him with like a cell phone or something. Hit him right in the face with that iPhone.
Well, that iPhone was destroyed then. Better get yourself a Samsung.
Hit him right in the face with that iPad.
Yeah, iPad will do more damage for sure.
All right. So what do you think?
I like how the story dovetailed into each other. I like that a lot. The art is great. It's actually a lot more well paced as well. So
exactly,
really built the tension.
And at the last 2 pages, I'm sure you're like, "Yes, kill her, kill her."
Don't judge me.
Yeah, but they would have killed her. We wouldn't have gotten those stories like the Cult of Love, and she would have been there.
I know,
48.
but I'm willing to sacrifice it if you are.
I'm willing to sacrifice someone else, not me, but yeah. All right, so the final issue. Oh, this is a pretty good cover too.
I think that is my favorite cover. Is the last issue.
It's him just beating on Daredevil. Peter Parker.
I love when he gets beat up. Don't judge me.
Peter
It
Parker.
happens more often than you think.
True. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 110 from January 1986.
Woohoo! We're in the birth year.
Woohoo!
We still got like 11 months to go, but whatever.
And I know you're all hanging on the edge of your seats for the title. All my sins remembered.
All my sins are dead.
All my sins live in Texas. What?
Nice.
With Betty leads at the mercy of the Sin Eater, Spider-Man and Daredevil rush to her aid, fearing that she may have been murdered by the serial killer. He thinks back to how Betty was his first love.
Cougar. Was it legal? I don't know.
I don't know. How
I think she's quite a bit older than him, but
because he was
like more than 3 years older than him.
It was like 15 or 16 when they met. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We're not gonna think about it.
I mean, she was old enough to have a full-time job. Although it was the 60s, they had like kids at 12 work a full-time job. At the home of J. Jonah Jameson, where Betty has been staying, the Sin Eater stands in front of a desk chair with a hole blasted through it. However, he did not hit Betty as she quickly slipped under the desk.
She's a wily old cougar.
The Sin Eater is surprised that he missed his shot. When she confirms that she works for J. Jonah Jameson, he attempts to choke her to death with his shotgun. As she gasps for breath, Betty asks the Sin Eater why he is committing his murders. The Sin Eater explains that he wants to kill Jameson because he opposes mass vigilantes. He killed Reverend Finn because he was against capital punishment, Judge Rosenthal because he went easy on criminals, and Gene DeWolff because he felt like it.
Damn. That's not a racist undertone at all.
The one woman will because he felt like it.
I'm not racist, sexist, thank you.
Yeah. While he is explaining this, Betty...
One of the isms, it's fine.
Yes. Oh, and next week, there's more motive why he killed Gene. But yes, while he is explaining this, Betty manages to get a hold of a letter opener and stabs the Sin Eater in the leg.
As you do. Good girl. Self-rescuing princesses are always appreciated, especially in the 80s when you were more prone to die as a woman in a comic book.
Before the Sin Eater can harm Betty further, Spider-Man comes crashing through the window as he always does.
Does he ever pay for that damage? Because
it's Jameson's window. I wish we would have seen on the headline.
Left him a little cheap cigar on the desk.
Mass menace trashes heroic publisher's house. The Sin Eater tosses Betty at the hero to give him time to reload his shotgun. The hero webs the barrel shut. Oh, I should have seen that coming. I already did that before.
Gotta get you some webbing-proof guns, man.
Then yanks the gun out of Sin Eater's hand. Spider-Man breaks the shotgun over his knee and attacks the villain. Knowing that the Sin Eater is really Detective Stan Carter, he is enraged when Carter claims that they are alike. Losing his temper, Spider-Man begins mercilessly beating the Sin Eater. He is angry not just because of the murders he committed, but how Stan strung him along and pretended to be Spider-Man's friend. The wall crawler's rampage is stopped by the arrival of Daredevil, who stops Spider-Man before he kills Carter. However, the wall crawler refuses to stand down, so Daredevil has to put himself between the hero and the killer. He tries to convince Spider-Man that the only threat in the room is himself.
Ooh.
Burn. Angering the web slinger, he's sick of Daredevil's constant recriminations. The two come to blows. Their struggles take them out onto the street.
Take it to the streets.
Take it to the streets. That's right. So they're fighting in the streets. There we go. Well, they argue over ideology on crime fighting. Ultimately, a combination of Spider-Man's blind rage and Daredevil's enhanced senses proves to be the wall crawler's undoing. He is knocked out by Daredevil.
Damn, Matt.
I know. In the aftermath of the battle, Daredevil considers the fact that he also lost someone close to him thanks to the Sin Eater. He wonders if Spider-Man feels too much about this case or if he doesn't care enough.
Are you numb, Matt? Are you numb?
Do you drink a lot? Not long after the arrest of Stan Carter, the press swoops in and tries to investigate Betty and Marla Jameson. Betty is disgusted that the press is sensationalizing the danger she is in. As the news that the Sin Eater was a police detective becomes public knowledge, the public is outraged.
We tried to tell y'all. Guess y'all had to learn that day.
Other officers wonder what sort of backlash they're going to get from the public. At a bar, some patrons complain how the police are always covering for each other.
That blue line of silence must end.
Elsewhere in the city, a young boy is found at the window of his apartment and is told to go back to bed. Oh, get it, Santa. When his father wonders where their portable television is, the boy thinks how surprised his parents will be when Santa Claus returns with a new television he traded the portable model for.
The Grinch who stole Christmas. How original.
Sucker. The next morning at the Daily Bugle, Peter arrives to see J. Jonah Jameson returning from the distributors conference in Florida. He is furious about the whole ordeal, but suddenly changes his mood when Peter informs him that the Sin Eater has been captured after putting Marla's life at risk. Peter finds some perverse joy in telling Jameson that it was Spider-Man who saved her life and caught the killer. In the office, Peter gets a call from his Aunt May, who is worried about her tenant, Ernie Popchick. Remember him? He left the house.
No.
He left the house after the news about the Sin Eater and took his old service pistol. He assures his Aunt May that he will try to keep an eye out for him. Overhearing this, Joe Robertson assigns Peter to take photos for a Vox Populi article about the Sin Eater. At that very moment, aboard a subway train, Ernie Popchick reads the newspaper and thinks about how unsafe the city has become. He is on his way to the World Trade Center.
Oof, that didn't age well.
No. But when some young men get on the train and try to hassle him for money, panicking, Ernie pulls out his gun and shoots the three men and flees the train when it stops.
What is this, the Joker movie?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking, yes.
We live in a society.
And flees the train when it stops. Soon the news that Stan Carter has been transferred to Rikers Island is leaked to the media and made public knowledge. As the situation unfolds, Police Chief James DeAngelo, District Attorney Blake Tower, and an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., just some random agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., discussed the Stan Carter case. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agent explained that Stan might be found not criminally responsible for his crimes. He explained...
Send him to Arkham.
Even Ray
No
knows.
toilets. That'll teach him.
Oh! Nothing cures a man of insanity like no toilet. He explains that Stan was a test subject for S.H.I.E.L.D.'s, oh god,
MK Ultra alert.
Research and Development Division. There he was injected with drugs like PCP and angel dust. Oh, yeah, no problem. So they can study the apparent strength enhancement functions of these drugs. During this program, Stan became increasingly paranoid and began acting violently toward authority figures. When Stan was later retired from S.H.I.E.L.D., they were certain that the drugs were out of his system. He figures that the recent death of Stan's partner pushed him over the edge. This does not impress Blake Tower, who has a public relations nightmare on his hands. Their meeting is soon interrupted when an angry mob forms outside the police station and begin protesting. Spider-Man arrives on the scene and begins taking pictures, of course. Suddenly, Daredevil arrives on the rooftop, and the two begin arguing their ideologies on how to handle the situation. That's when the police send officers out in riot gear to hold back the crowd while they transfer Stan Carter to Rikers. Suddenly, a full-on riot breaks out, led by Carl Weatherby, Jean DeWolff's stepfather. Daredevil leaps down to try and stop the riot, but Spider-Man refuses to get involved. That is, until Daredevil is swarmed by rioters and calls out to Spider-Man. Oh, he even
Save me, lover! Save me!
He even uses the P word.
I'm here for Peter.
Daredevil calls out to him by his first name. This reaches Spider-Man, who swings down and fights off the mob off Daredevil. Why did you say that name? He then prevents Carl Weatherby from strangling Stan Carter to death. They pull Carter to safety until the police can disperse the mob and turn Stan Carter back over to the authorities. In the aftermath, Spider-Man is surprised that Daredevil has guessed his secret identity. To make things even, Daredevil tells Spider-Man that he is really Matt Murdock. Spider-Man...
Oh, they exchange secret identities! How romantic!
Oh, I know, it was cute. It was cute until, the damn One More Day mind wiped them. Damn it.
I totally love Charlie's theory, by the way, that it wasn't, and they did use that technology.
I mean, hopefully, yeah. I mean, not to deal with the villain.
Not to deal with his uncle. Or his aunt.
Seriously.
Whatever theory you prescribe to.
Spider-Man finds it incredible to believe and suggests that they go back to his place and to talk in private. Ooh.
Bow chicka wow wow.
That's right. At Peter's
Ooh, you got yourself a lawyer.
Oh my lord, the next sentence ahead of time, a preemptive shut up, Will. At Peter's apartment, out of costume.
In the bed.
No, it's a couch. Come on. Explanation.
The love seat, if you will.
Oh. Oh my god. The love seat.
Mind if I slam your butt in the pokey lady?
Murdock gets Spider-Man to admit that he leaped into the crowd to help because Daredevil thought what he was doing was right. Murdock applies this logic to the fact that everyone deserves a fair trial under the law, even Stan Carter. Their discussion is interrupted by a phone call. It's Peter's Aunt May who tells Peter how Ernie shot 3 youths and turned himself into the police. Overhearing this, Murdock grabs the phone and offers his services, promising to do everything he can to ensure that Ernie gets a fair trial. Finally seeing Matt Murdock's point, Peter agrees when Matt tells him that he will give her faith that the system works. So yes.
I think the more modern Daredevil should probably focus on that, how broken the justice system is, and they might get some positive reception depending on the execution, of course.
Exactly. So
I think we've lost that thread with Daredevil.
Oh
honestly.
yeah. Well, he's in prison now.
Yeah, exactly. How's it feel, buddy?
Well, he volunteered, man. So if we can get a new Daredevil. A sexy Daredevil.
You know how I feel about that.
Got it. So, yes, notes. Peter and Betty first met in Amazing Spider-Man 1. They began dating in Amazing Spider-Man 7 until...
Tell me how old she was!
I know what you say.
Can we cancel Betty?
Start the campaign. But yeah, Peter was feeling bad about Ernie Popchick because this was after Nathan Lubinsky was beaten by loan sharks.
She just don't have luck with men, bro. When you're married to the devil, you know, what do you expect?
She doesn't want a long-term relationship. Peter apologizes for the smell of his apartment as the apartment recently suffered damage from a fire. This happened in Web of Spider-Man 11. It's not the fire kid.
We don't talk about that issue.
You know it wasn't the fire kid. All right, well, what did you think?
I like the ending a lot. It's a lot. It was a lot left unsaid, but it was the 80s, so I understand. I understand why there was a lot left unsaid, a lot left untouched. But for what he could say at the time, it's a good story.
Yes.
I like the themes and the motifs, and I'm totally now fully aboard the Daredevil Spidey ship, whatever they call that. Spider Devil? I don't know.
Dare Spider?
I'm sure somebody knows. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this, leave a comment.
Yeah, where you at, Chad? Who gets top billing?
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm calling it though, Matt's the top in the relationship. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Peter's very submissive. Mary Jane bosses him around, very much so. So
hi.
we can extrapolate.
He does get submissive for redheads, doesn't he?
I can't relate to that, but I do get the affinity for redheads. But no, it's a solid B+ story. You know, Sin Eater just bleh. I thought we would never see that again, but we did. So
But yeah, it was a good story. Yeah, I'd probably give it a B+ as well. It's
love
okay.
the art though. Oh my god, the art's stunning. So
Especially those covers too. I mean,
definitely newsstand fodder. Just gimme. I don't care what the story is. Just gonna take that.
I know it looks like half those covers like he's explaining the plot in like his word bubbles. Yes, very newsstand.
We got to get the comic books into the hands of the fans, man. I get it. The direct market was a lot tougher in the 80s, you know?
Gimme.
Even with the newsstand. It was tough.
I know.
Need the money. Gimme.
So yeah.
And honestly, back then, it made more sense with the inaccessibility to write for the trades, but they didn't. And now with the accessibility of comics, it's... Oh, God.
I don't feel like they went in deep enough.
So yeah, good story. You should pick it up, especially these days because Sin Eater's back.
Yeah. To varying degrees of success, shall we say.
Oh, if they, maybe the story picked up the pace some.
When we stop spinning wheels and get to the good stuff, yeah.
That's right.
But yeah,
So
definitely should have this in your Spider-Man repertoire.
That's right. Yes, and we'd really like to hear your thoughts on it. Any of you, even Ray.
Even if it's 2 episodes late, it's fine.
I don't care if you're an Austin fanboy or not. Oh no, it'll be caught up now if he sends it for next episode. Like I do 67 podcasts. Oh, I'm sorry, 69 podcasts on my own.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure Ray will appreciate that also. Yes.
So what's on the schedule for next week? Phil, old chum of mine.
Well, I wanted to pull up the schedule, because next time, yes, we're going to get was originally the final fate of Stan Carter from the Spectacular Spider-Man 134 through 136. Speaking of redheads, Mary Jane's in it because this is after the marriage. And I believe it's a 5 Peter David again, dumbass.
I'm sensing a theme, and I'll allow it because it's February.
And then in 2 weeks, of course, we're going to be covering Spectacular Spider-Man 139, the origin of one of Ray's favorite villains, Tombstone.
He's not Colossus's real child. I don't care.
Oh, I heard Ray on one of the shows. He was saying he wants Tombstone in the MCU.
Really?
Yeah.
Put him on the Moon Knight show then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Ray, he come back all white after he gets his face cut off. Yeah. I forget.
See? It could work.
They had someone.
Like, you could put all the ridiculous characters in Moon Knight. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The White Rabbit.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, the X-Men or Fantastic Four come back in the Moon Knight show?
They would never.
They're like, we need to get some eyes on this. We're bringing back the X-Men and Moon Knight. That does it.
They come back anywhere. It's going to be something like WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier. Yeah, something.
Mark my words, Moon Knight. It's going to happen.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine if they gave that to Moon Knight? I mean, Ray would be over the moon.
Or no, they set up the Avengers spinoff, and he just starts kicking all their butts like that recent comic book issue. Avengers 6, Moon Knight's Revenge.
Impossible. He's not the Batman or anything.
Batman.
Same difference.
Oh.
I kid. Don't at me, Ray.
Man, just stab him. It'll be easier for him.
I'll send some feedback. He'll forgive me.
Bro. Cut me, bro.
So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for the next issue that we cover. But until then, we should probably pay some bills.
Oh, that's right. Yes. And then of course, I'm sure you know, in 3 episodes, Ray will be back.
Revenge of the Sausage Fest.
Oh my God, that would be so good. Like, people just like start leaving comments while we're recording live, and what you can if you follow Capes and Lunatics on Facebook or Twitter. It's people just comment. You hear what Lilith Hellfire said about you? What he said about Tombstone and Moon Knight? Totally.
Don't at me, bro. Don't at me.
Oh my God, you millennials! Instead of come at me, bro, it's at me, bro.
Don't at me, bro.
All right, so send your thoughts on the upcoming stuff, the current state of Spider-Man comics, or is Charlie? Speaking of Daredevil and Spider-Man, Charlie Cox. Are we getting Matt Murdock in Spider-Man 3?
Does he need a lawyer? Does he need a terrible lawyer? See, I can't ship that though, so
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'm pretty sure it's probably just an after credit scene or something like that.
I don't know. We'll see. So email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember to follow Ultimate Spidercast on Facebook, Twitter. You can find links to all of our many shows. The Devil You Know, the Daredevil podcast, if you're a fan of Daredevil. Shut up. You created this.
I know. I'm letting the master work.
I don't do that. Anyway.
We don't do that here.
So find links to all of our shows, the link to this YouTube where you can watch Lilith Hellfire these days, right on camera. Links to the Patreon for hard R movie reviews, or links to merch.
And of course, boob windows and long boxes.
Yes.
Coming soon. Nice.
And you can get yourself some a link to get yourself
yourself some merch.
Get yourself a nondescript Capes and Lunatics cup to drink alcohol out of, right?
Yep. Or Mountain Dew. Keeps Mountain Dew ice cold, even without ice.
How does it know? Links to everything all in one place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. And remember to support our sponsors.
Because you always need a good pair of headphones, right?
Yes.
If you listen to podcasts, right?
Get yourself some tweaked audio. Hear those whips in crystal clear HD.
Blip, blip.
And be like Spider-Man and Daredevil and hunt a killer.
And especially if it's Christmas, still send them to jail.
That's right. Spider-Man may not lock anyone up on Christmas, but Michelle Gray does.
Michelle Gray does. She's hard on crime.
And you shouldn't be going anywhere, even sporting events. So stay home and get Hunt Killer. Use the code.
Do as I say and not as I do. I've been in the house long enough. I've been in the house long enough for everybody, so I deserve this.
She's been locked up with 4 dogs for a year now, people. So it's been rough.
Wolf?
It's been rough. All right, so use the code Southgate for both of those, and then go pick up Pod Life the book, now in digital and paperback.
Where's my audiobook, Rob? Where's my audiobook?
Okay, Charlie.
My Marg bug cannot abide reading. She can't do it.
So if you want to pick up Pod Life the book for yourself or your long distance wife, pick that up on Amazon. And when you do, use the code for Southgate Media Group right down there in the show notes. Help us support this show, the network, and that's the loudmouth publisher himself, Rob Master Doom Southgate.
Make it rain.
He definitely has called us a menace.
Yes.
Please kick me in the pants.
And we do.
Why did your eye drift over to my box? Mark my words.
All right, well, Hellfire, where can people find you?
If you nerds want to at me, you can do that on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire, on Instagram at Lilith Hellfire 86, and if you're looking for some spicy memes, at Lilith Hellfire 69 on TikTok and Instagram. I always want to say Twitter, but no, not yet. I will find you at Lilith Hellfire 69 on Twitter, and you will give me that tag.
Why?
That taste was still in my mouth. Chris Evans can get it all day, every day.
It's true.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there to the internet. No. Come on, Chris Evans. Come on, pretend to make a wish, Chris Evans. Come on.
Chris Evans can get it all day, every day.
He's the only Chris, though. The only Marvel Chris, anyway. Chris Pine, maybe.
Oh my! And then she can review it for a pot. Then she can review your lovemaking skill on a podcast. We're cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. For joining us.
Thank you for thwipping by.
Come back for earlier next week. Oh, and our good friend Electro also. Electro and Stu. Will is like sucked up. Swing on back.
Thwip.